Dear colleagues, dear friends, it is a great pleasure to be here and to take part in the work of the Congress of the Union of Machine Builders of Russia. This is one of the country's largest industry associations. Its membership includes such leading systemically important companies as Rostec, Roscosmos, United Aircraft Corporation, Almaz Ante, Uralvagonzavod, Avtovaz, as well as many other enterprises where large teams of specialists, true professionals in their field, work. Of course, in modern life, in the modern economy, everything is important. Services are important, financial operations and securities are important. But still, it is pleasant to deal with people who are engaged in real, concrete work. Of course, as Sergei Yurovich just said, we have many issues and problems, difficult issues that need to be solved together. But still, this is the 10th anniversary Congress, so I will not speak about sad things. I will not talk about the key interest rate. I will not talk about the need for long-term financing and strengthening the ruble. We meet regularly with many of you. All of this is known, and we discuss it with the government and the central bank. It is all under consideration. I will say that despite all the difficulties, in recent years, domestic machine builders have been operating under difficult conditions, including the severing of ties with certain foreign counterparties and external pressure from unfriendly countries. Nevertheless, under these circumstances, Russian companies, their managers and employees have shown flexibility and the ability to apply unconventional approaches. By redirecting logistics, replacing a number of components, and mastering their own original scientific and technological solutions, they not only preserved stable operations, but in a number of cases also gained new positions in both the domestic and foreign markets. They are implementing development programs, investing in research groundwork, and strengthening human resources potential. The results, despite all the problems that we know about, which I have only briefly mentioned now, are nevertheless significant. At the end of last year, the output volume of Russian manufacturing industry exceeded the 2021 figure by almost a quarter. It is clear why I mention this, because after 2021, in 2022, all the problems that I know about began. And speaking overall, industrial production volume in Russia in 2025 was 12% higher than the 2021 level. What does this say? First, it says that our industry, science, and education have enormous potential. This is a solid foundation for our sovereign development, for qualitative economic growth, for the formation of a supply-side economy and modern jobs, for ensuring the country's defense capability and increasing high-tech exports. Second, it proves the correctness of the strategic line and decisions that we adopted not so long ago, namely not to copy others, but to set trends in the markets, to master new types of competitive products, including the production of quality aircraft, railway equipment, agricultural machinery and other equipment, the creation and accelerated introduction of industrial robots, digital platforms and autonomous systems, and artificial intelligence technologies. Projects stimulating demand for such products have been launched and will continue to develop. Without a doubt, we will continue to support them. I know that many believe the instruments proposed by the government may be insufficient, but they nevertheless exist. And many, including those present in this hall, use these instruments quite successfully. At the same time, I emphasize once again, while strengthening our technological sovereignty, we are not going to isolate ourselves. On the contrary, we intend to create and expand mutually beneficial alliances with other states to support initiatives of foreign partners in which Russian machines, equipment, and technological platforms are used. Such a combination of the intellectual and resource potential of different countries on the principles of mutual respect and interests will open additional opportunities for the domestic research school, industrial enterprises, and the service sector, which I also already mentioned. At the same time, life itself and the challenges we have faced have proven the correctness of the thesis that we must independently produce critically important products, have our own technological keys to all industries that are fundamentally significant for the economy, for improving people's lives, and, of course, for ensuring the security of the state. In this regard, special words of gratitude go to the teams of enterprises of the defense industrial complex, which has already been mentioned here. You are confidently fulfilling the state defense order, which has grown significantly since the beginning of the special military operation. Looking ahead, launching into serial production, promising types of military equipment developed on the basis of modern combat experience, and doing everything to reliably supply our armed forces. Let me remind you that at last year's St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, some principles were outlined on which we will strengthen our sovereignty in the sphere of defense and security. Among them is the broadest possible implementation of the best technological and organizational innovations, for which it is necessary to constantly analyze not only our own, but also, of course, the best foreign experience. Another key principle is increasing the speed of decision-making, actions, and production. But this is an original problem. I think that for centuries, without any exaggeration, we have faced this for centuries, but special attention must be paid to it. Speed in both decision-making and implementation is extremely important. We have no right to lag behind either our partners or our competitors in these parameters. The time frame from an idea to obtaining the final finished product must be radically reduced, as is already happening in many civilian sectors. At the same time, I repeat, we need to move away from the formal division of companies into the defense industrial complex and the civilian segment, from conditional restrictions that hinder the rapid mastering of new effective production solutions. I am confident that implementing these principles in practice will also be helped by our guys, whom we rightly call our heroes, those who have gone through the special military operation, people with enormous experience, who know how to quickly find answers to assigned tasks, are well-oriented in the tactics of using weapon systems in frontline conditions, and know what their combat comrades on the line of contact need. I ask the government, profilne ministries, and company leaders to actively facilitate the arrival of such people into the domestic defense industrial complex and other industrial sectors. Concrete actions are needed here, including expanding programs of professional training, internships, and employment. Yes, the guys are fighting and proving themselves, but they need support. We must look for talented people. There are many talented people there. I meet with them, believe me. Talented, modern, clear-thinking people. We need to search for them, find them, and help them. I would also like to separately thank domestic enterprises and the Union of Machine Builders, as Sergei Viktorovich also said just now, for humanitarian support for our fighters, as well as for assistance to citizens in border regions who have found themselves in a difficult situation. Such practical and active participation in the fate of people, of regions, and of the country as a whole deserves enormous respect, encouragement, and attention. In addition, within the Union of Machine Builders, there are more than 30 specialized structures involving company executives, representatives of government bodies, the scientific and financial community, and industry specialists. Their proposals and recommendations are in demand in working through strategic issues of industrial development, including improving the regulatory framework, technological modernization of enterprises, their support under conditions of external pressure and sanctions, and, of course, personnel support. I know that the Union of Machine Builders, jointly with the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, has built an integrated system for training engineering personnel. It covers all stages of specialist development, including career guidance, talent identification, training, support, and employment. Over the past 5 years, about 4 million school children, students, and young engineers have gone through these programs. This work must definitely continue and develop because it is oriented toward the future, toward educating a generation with modern, innovative engineering thinking. It is precisely such specialists who will have to solve the long-term tasks of our country's technological development, making machine-building enterprises and all Russian industry stronger, more stable, and more effective. Allow me to wish you all the very best. Once again, I want to note that I know the difficulties you have to go through, and I know that you are coping with them. You are coping thanks to your organizational talent, your determination and focus on the final result, and you are succeeding. Thank you, all the very best, and success in your work.